Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the November 14th Board of Selectmen meeting, which is virtual and in person, as always. And we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance, to be followed by a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We remain standing for a moment of silence for Don Sylvester, who sadly passed away last night. And Don, who's a vet, who was a familiar face at all of the ceremonies around town for many, many years. So we want to keep Don and his family in our thoughts and our prayers. Thank you. All righty. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of the special Board of Selectmen meeting of October 22nd, 2024?
Lauren Rabin, so moved.
Janet Stone McWigan, I second.
All those in favor? Fred Camillo's a yes.
Lauren Rabin, yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes.
Thank you. And is there a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of October 24th, 2024?
Lauren Rabin, so moved.
Janet Stone McWigan, I second.
All those in favor? Fred Camillo's a yes.
Lauren Rabin, yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes.
Thank you. And is there a motion to approve the minutes of the special meeting of October 25th, 2024?
Lauren Rabin, so moved.
Janet Stone McWigan, I second.
All those in favor? Fred Camillo's a yes.
Lauren Rabin, yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes.
Thank you. And finally, is there a motion to approve the minutes of the special meeting of October 30th, 2024?
Lauren Rabin, so moved.
Janet Stone McWigan, I second.
All those in favor? Fred Camillo's a yes.
Lauren Rabin, yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes.
Okay, thank you. The first selectmen's update's very short today, but I again want to thank the registrar of voters, the staff and the team there, the town clerk, and all the poll workers who pulled off the first ever early voting that we had here in town. Election day is now not just the first Tuesday in November. We have 15 election days now with the early voting. It can be time consuming. It does cost us more money. We will get better at getting the results in, hopefully, in the years to come. Usually we get the results by 9 o'clock for local races, but a few-hour delay because they had to incorporate 3 different things now: early voting, absentees, and same-day voting. So hopefully that will get straightened out as we go on. But all in all, very successful, and we had no issues at all here in Greenwich. So I want to thank everybody involved. And speaking of that, Michael Romeo will be the December Employee of the Month. Michael is a DPW employee, and he was responsible for all those machines. So he kept them all safe, and we thank Mike for his work. Again, congratulations to our own Pat Massey. Joe Siciliano and I tonight will be going down to Ardsley in New York. He's receiving an award from the PGA. He's our town pro at the Griff, and I know I'm dating myself. Pat's been just terrific there. He's very, very popular. Everybody loves him, and he's receiving an award. So we'll be there to support him tonight. On Monday, the 18th, I'm going to be meeting with officials in Portchester to go over a couple things. As you know, we had the 50th anniversary of the tragedy at Gulliver's Fire back at the end of June. And I've been meeting with some of the relatives, and there's no memorial there. And it's kind of a hard place because where the nightclub was is private property. So we are, as you know, we have working with the Army Corps to fix those 2 bridges on the Portchester-Greenwich border. So we had an idea to, when it's done in the next 4 years, to have that named the Gulliver's Memorial Bridge. And so the village of Portchester is supportive of this idea, so they've agreed to meet with me and state officials in New York to approach the Army Corps and DOT in New York with that. So we're thinking about a couple other ideas too, but that would be something that we think would be really appropriate because it was right there. And also the the traffic's getting worse and worse in Byram. It's Delavan Avenue and Mill Street is a cut-through. I've lived there in the past. I know it's not good and it's getting worse. With the development on the border, that's not going to get any better. So we're going to see if we can meet with, get DOT in both Connecticut and New York together to get those lights aligned and speed them up a little bit, maybe get some smart technology there. Because I just worry if there's ever an emergency, to have our first responders be stuck in traffic there could be costly. So I'll be meeting with them on Monday regarding that. On Wednesday, we're going to do the ribbon cutting for the Wescombe Wood Bridge over in Binney Park at 10:30. So that's we're happy about that. It looks beautiful. A reminder: leaf collection has started. So we have two collections. Usually the first one takes care of most of it, but try not to miss the second one. Once in a while we get calls after the second one asking for a third one. But most of the leaves are going to be down, so the second pickup really shouldn't be that much work. So, and finally, I want to thank everybody for their patience with the scaffolding in front of Town Hall. I want to thank Building Maintenance and Construction and Luigi Romano for getting that done. It should come down in the next few weeks, and we'll have a brand-new painted Town Hall. So anyway, thanks, everybody, and I'll turn it over to Lauren.
Thanks, Fred, and agree. Thanks to everyone involved in making early voting happen. I understand that 30% of eligible voters actually turned out and voted early. So that's, a promising sign that this is something that people appreciated the opportunity to do so. Speaking of Wescombe Wood, I don't want to bring this up, but somebody is emailing us about some traffic issues at the corner of Wescombe Wood and Drinkwater, so I think we should probably look into that too before we get to the ribbon cutting ceremony next week. And then in my position as liaison to the Selectmen's Nomination Advisory Committee, just wanted to reiterate that we do have some openings. We are looking for somebody to serve on the Board of Human Services, on the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency, the Fair Rent Commission, as well as the ADA Advisory Committee. So anyone that's listening is interested, if you were to go on the town website and search volunteer, you would get to the nomination form to self-nominate, and we would put you through the interview cycle. Some of these positions are just appointed by the three of us, and then some of the positions actually also go through the RTM for full appointment. So if you're interested in serving and have any questions about any of those positions, feel free to reach out. And I'll keep it short since we do have a long agenda today. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. Good morning, Janet.
Good morning, and I'll add to that, the Flood Erosion Control Board is not actually one of our committees, it's an RTM committee, but that also has openings. And yeah, I think Fred went down the list, but I'll add, I've got a few more events to add on Saturday. This Saturday from 1 to 4, we have the Great Pumpkin Rescue. I see Julie Deschamps in the audience. That's always a lot of fun. On Monday, the 18th at 7 p.m., there's a panel discussion on food insecurity called A Tale of Two Counties, and that is at Co-Create in Stanford. I have been asked by a number of people where we are on I-95 noise. So I'll just note here that on Wednesday the 20th at 7 o'clock in person, there is what's called the DOT Pell study. And on Thursday, the 21st at noon, there will be a Zoom discussion. And on Saturday, the 23rd, from 2 to 4, we have a Coscob Park cleanup organized by high school student Thomas McKinney. And I also wanted to note, after the Coscob Veterans Ceremony, I went over to the Historical Society, and there is a current exhibit called Greenwich and the Revolution. I thought it was really well done. If anyone has time to go over, you definitely should. Even the selectmen got a mention back in the day in 1770-something.
Not us.
Not us, although sometimes I feel that old. Our predecessors authorized the production of saltpeter. I thought that was interesting. And just like you, I just have a few closing remarks that it just feels like a lifetime ago, not just last week, that this room was one of our town's 12 polling places. And it's fair to say, I think election night was a mix of high or lows. But the voters have spoken. My congratulations to the Greenwich delegation. Greenwich emerged solidly purple. It's now on this delegation to put the town's interests over parties, and I know you have your work cut out for you. My deepest thank goes to all the candidates. It's not easy to run for public office, but our community is made better by contested elections. To the registrars, poll workers, and town officials who made a very complex process safe, secure, and seemingly effortless, which we know it was not. Most importantly, to the voters who turned out in record numbers. Elections have consequences, and your voices matter. I'm also thrilled that early voting was so successful, and absentee voting for all was a decisive winner. But I'll end by noting that democracy is a fragile thing, but it's born anew with every election. Regardless of one's political leanings, we can all declare our American democracy the biggest winner. For that, I thank you.
Thank you, Janet. And the Pell study, that's at 6:30 on the 20th, is at high school? Where is it?
It's at the high school.
High school, yeah, okay. Okay, thank you. And there's a couple things going on that night, but that's important if you live around the highway there. Okay, going on, we have 3 items under old business. First is a request for the Board of Selectmen endorsement to endorse for an effort to designate the Byram River Greenway. And is Will and Chris? Where's Chris? Oh, Chris, I'm looking right at you before. Chris, do you want to come up and? Sure. Thank you. This is Chris Aldridge.
Great. How's everybody doing? Thanks for having me. So as this is old business, I'll just quickly kind of review the project, I guess, or?
Yeah, just for people maybe who.
Sure. So I'm asking for your support in the nomination of the Byram River Greenway in Northwest Greenwich, the municipal resolution for designation by the Connecticut Greenway Council and the Department of the Energy and Environmental Protection. This project has already been endorsed by both the Conservation Commission and the Board of Recreation. We're very appreciative of that. And the need for this came from an increased demand in outdoor recreation, and it's also coupled with the desire to conserve and protect the ecological integrity of this important stretch along the Byram River. The goals for this project are to develop a new trail system. There is an existing trail system that runs through this 249-acre greenway, and we'd like to improve it and address the needs of the community while protecting the environmental integrity of the area. This project would also aid in securing potential funding and bring attention to this important stretch of open space.
Thank you, Chris. And this is in the northwest corner for people who don't know. And if you like to hike, Greenwich is the place to be. We keep adding all these spaces and trails, and it's terrific. And you're connecting some of our properties, and you will be going alongside the golf course.
Yes, yep. So the major landowners in this greenway are the Greenwich Land Trust, the Greenwich Audubon, and then the town of Greenwich. The Griff would be utilized in the trail system. There's a section that's wooded, not the golf course, but the wooded eastern border.
Yeah, just I know some people may ask a question because of the location, but it's beautiful up there and it's terrific, and I think it's a great idea.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so we just.
I'll just say thank you for all the work that went into this.
Yeah, and absolutely, thank you. It's a very beautiful part of town, and we're excited to give it some attention.
Yeah, and you guys are always there, and will always, anytime there's a possibility of getting a property, you guys immediately are on top of it. So
we do our best. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
So Lauren Rabin, I motion that we approve the request from the Greenwich Land Trust for a municipal resolution endorsing the Byram River Greenway.
Janet Stone McWigan, I second.
All those in favor, Fred Camillo's a yes.
Lauren Rabin, yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes.
Thank you, Chris.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great day. Okay, next up is a discussion of the proposed ordinance to address the feral cat issues within the town of Greenwich, and Barbara Schellenberger, town attorney, is here. Good morning, Barbara.
Good morning. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. I believe Suzanne Carlin, our animal control officer, is also available on Zoom for questions.
I mean, Janet has.
Questions and comments, yes. So first of all, again, thank you for all the work that's gone into this. I'll just say I don't have any strong feelings one way or the other, but after our last meeting, I did want to make sure that there was an opportunity for comment, just because this is going to be going to the RTM. I did let the RTM know that this was something that that was before us. I think I got one comment, and it wasn't, there wasn't a big amount of concern. I did have one resident ask me, though, and I just wanted to follow up on how this ordinance deals with outside cats, because we've talked about strays and abandoned and feral cats, but a lot of owners have what we call outdoor cats or barn cats. Lauren had previously talked about or asked about, does this imply that there would have to be a registration program? Very, very different from dogs which are not allowed to roam free outside. Cats are. There isn't like an equivalent of a licensing program for cats. So I think it would have to be understood, because yes, I mean, it's in talking with you and Suzanne, it's understood that owners of outdoor cats would have to do something, collar them, chip them. Otherwise there's always a possibility that they get trapped along with feral cats, and in which case, their ear would be marked. They would be spayed or neutered, vaccinated. One would have to think that current owners of cats already do that, but still it might come as a surprise. So, just wanted to put that out there.
Right. As you mentioned, when we discussed it, it probably would be a good idea if this ordinance is adopted to have education, to get the message out there as to what is required. And again, I don't know if Suzanne has any further comments, but she had mentioned that from a practical perspective, generally, the people who work with animal control have a pretty good idea when they find a cat, is this a feral cat, is this a stray cat, or is this likely a cat that's owned by somebody, just based on the cat's behavior. So she had indicated she didn't think it would end up being that big a problem. Mm-hmm. But, it's a legitimate concern.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I think it's something we have to do. And as far as the more immediate help, Suzanne and I briefly spoke this morning. We're going to try and circle back later today to just get an update and see how we're progressing as, getting some outside help to make sure that we're able to respond instead of, getting 3 or 4. They're doing all they can, but
They're working hard.
They're working really hard. They just don't have that many people on staff there. So, we do take 3 or 4 off the streets, and then, one gets impregnated, and then there's 7 or 8 more. So, we don't want to keep playing catch up. So we will keep working on that too. So it's 2 fronts.
Okay.
Thank you, Barbara.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree. It's the education is going to be important. I did have an outdoor cat, but she had a collar on. So hopefully, I'm not suggesting that everyone put a collar on their cat, but, we're going to have to do a lot of education.
Right. And look, you can always choose not to have your cat roam beyond your property, right? That's an option as well. So
My cat
even
was
if it's
more
outdoor,
like a dog.
Yeah.
She fetched.
Yeah, they're all very different, those cats. But anyway, okay, I think we're good with this. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay. the language. So Lauren Raven, I motion that we approve the proposed feral cat ordinance so that it can go forward to the RTM for final approval.
Janet Stone McWigan, I second.
All those in favor, Fred Camillo's a yes.
Lauren Raven, yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes.
Thank you, Barbara, and thank you, everybody. Thanks for your patience with that, and thank you, Suzanne, and everybody that helped with that. The last item under old business is a request for the approval of the intersection modifications at Valley Road at River Road Extension and Schofield Street. Michael Kislak is here, our DPW civil engineer. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, everybody. Good to see you all again. So yeah, again, just Michael Kislak with the Department of Public Works. We also have the Deputy Commissioner Jim Michael and Chief Engineer Gabriela Sarkozy here, just in case. So yeah, this is actually the third read on this item. We're recommending always stop control for the intersection of Valley Road and River Road Extension and Schofield Street, which is a slightly offset intersection in Coscob. So we were here in July and August, I believe it was, and we sort of been on a little bit of a hold since then because we realized there were some on-street parking impacts that would have to happen as a result of the always stop. So we've been working with the Department of Parking Services. This coincided with Deputy Chief Gray retiring right around August. So they've been going through the process of notifying the neighbors of the parking changes, which is actually the first item under new business today. So I don't think we have much else specifically about the always stop to discuss. So if we want to move on to the parking, and then after that vote on them one by one, I'm not sure how you want to do that. They kind of do go hand in hand. So kind of up to you guys.
They do, but this is separate under old business, and I think we should probably stay within the order of just voting on this first. I've also reached, the parking I'll get to because I got some clarification, so I'm very happy about that, and we have some friends here that are gonna just ask again, just for clarification. But yeah, I think this is something it's been needed for decades, having grown up in that neighborhood. We've seen people hit, and we've had near misses recently. Another good thing with this, with a couple of the other sidebars to this when you're coming off the post road, sometimes when traffic is really backed up and it's really flowing over there on Valley Road, traffic seems to be backed up on River Road Extension. This will help with that. It'll make it, we won't be seeing cars backed up to Joey B's and things like that. So that should help with that. And also, I know having lots of friends over there and trying to get out of those driveways. Sometimes it could be a long time and people are speeding. They're not going to stop. But if cars are at a four-way stop and cars are backed up a little bit, someone's trying to get out of their driveway, they're going to be seen. And if you have a better chance of it, I've seen that in Orchard Street when I lived there. If cars were backed up, they would actually let you'd be able to get out of there a little bit easier. So it's definitely something we have to move on because we've been put on notice several times now about this. So thank you for all your hard work and for reaching out to all the people there and alerting them and taking in all their comments, which was greatly appreciated.
So I'm still getting feedback from people about the coming down the hill and not being able to stop, and all the residents that live in that portion of Valley Road. And, are there other alternatives? I know that you've explored them, maybe putting something up near Nassau Place to let people know that this intersection is approaching, different pedestrian type signaling, for the pedestrian crossing on that corner. So I'm still not necessarily sold that we've explored all opportunities, especially for the people that live there.
Yeah. So again, yeah, we've definitely heard that concern, and we're going to do all the the advanced warning and things that we can. I would just say we know there's a problem there today, so we can continue to monitor it. That's something we always do. But in order for it to even be tried, we need it to be in the ordinance. So it's just signage. It can always be undone later if it's not working. But we know there's a problem there today, so that's what we're trying to balance.
Well, thank you for that. And yeah, I would just emphasize that what we're contemplating is not irrevocable. It's not a big construction project. As you say, we can try it and then see how it works. I was there recently. I was at an event for River House, and parking was an issue, so I had to park in that area, and I had to, as a pedestrian, come over. And yeah, I mean, we need to do something. So
Yeah, no, we will, and we will monitor it. And again, some of the people that have, most of the people I've heard for the last several months are all in favor of it, but there's a few that live there that are concerned about that, and I happen to know some of them pretty well. And so we're on top of it, and we'll certainly always open to suggestions and more data. But I appreciate you getting us to this point.
Thank you.
We have 2 signed-up speakers here and 1 online.
Sure.
So, Mr. Baxendale, please.
Morning, John. Good, how are you? Just press it.
There we go.
Good.
All right. Thanks. Can you hear me? Yeah, good morning. First off, thanks for addressing the issue. It's obviously been an issue for a long, long time, ever since I was a kid growing up here, probably ever since you were a kid. Traffic's only gotten worse and faster and more distracted. So I'm happy that it's getting some attention. I've relatively recently taken over the bike shop there, so I spend 7 days a week there for the most part, so I see how dangerous it is. Traffic study was done. I read it in detail. I noticed it was done 2 weeks in February, car counts, speeds, all that stuff, which is obviously valid and important. Pedestrian traffic was done, and I think only at the crossing for, I think it was a period of 48 hours, and it was during school, February 28th, 29th. But at any rate, there was 0 cyclists caught on whether there was no count allocation for cyclists at all, which sitting there as much as we do, even in February, I know that there are cyclists on their road. I don't know if that would change the parameters of the study or the decision or the scope of the work being done. If you're relining or anything like that, there's no space for a proper cycling lane, but consideration for sharrows or something like that, because it is a main thoroughfare for pedestrians and cyclists. So my first question was, obviously traffic study done, pedestrians, cyclists. Was anything done as far as a parking study, spaces being removed, amount of spaces, how they were used? Because that I didn't see in any of the publications that were released.
Yeah, and then they looked at all of that. I know, if Michael wants to address it, but we did, because of people like you reaching out, and people at the club, St. Lawrence, concerned about possible loss of spaces there. And what we found out was, I always thought you had 2 spaces there because everybody used 2 spaces, but really one's only legal. And the one that's illegal is the one that caused the problems.
Right.
So from what I understand, your legal space is fine.
Right.
It's the one that's right on the corner. And I even have pictures people are sending me where cars are, big SUVs or trucks there, and you just can't see.
Yeah, it encroaches on line of sight for sure.
It does.
Yeah.
So, but you're fine. Your regular space there is good.
Right.
And the St. Lawrence Club, it would be after 5 o'clock. They can go back and use those spaces, but before that, during the day, that's the problem.
Right.
So, which is good because most of their events are at night. So, and again, we're going to monitor this. Going forward, with the other ones, the other spaces, but those were the 2 ones that jumped out, your business and the St. Lawrence Club. And from what I understand, if I'm correct, right, after 5 o'clock, they'll be okay over there.
Yeah, do you want to,
That's the next one, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
so we jumped a little bit ahead.
We could do that too. All right, well, I'll quickly, I'd asked Parking Services on email a couple times, I never heard back. By my count, when you look at the 25-foot setbacks needed for line of sight for a 4-way off-center stop, you lose, at least by my count anyway, 6 to 8 spaces. So quick math, being a business person that's there all the time, you lose 6 to 8 spots. That's 256 potential lost customers over the course of 1 day for those 8 spots. And that's based on 8 spaces, so if you go 6, it's less, obviously. 4 turns an hour, which is probably optimal, but people going to the deli, they're there quick. People that come to us, usually they're there quick as well. And then an 8-hour day. So That's a lot of lost parking opportunities for businesses in the area, so that's concerning. Safety-wise, yes, we've got to do something, we just want to make sure we're not hurting businesses at the same time. Going beyond that, parking is tight there to begin with, and there's carting services that people park there, they're there at 4 in the morning, even though it's 2-hour parking, they're still there at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so a lot of those spaces are occupied long-term. So, you know, they're being a little bit abused for what they are. We can put notes on cars and everything else, but it's not something that's regularly patrolled, I don't think, so tickets aren't necessarily being given, so the spaces aren't used for their intended purpose. So it may mean looking at some of the spaces that exist if the proposal goes through and reallocating, you know, how long you could be at each space. The other question I had, and this goes beyond, well, not beyond my years, but beyond my awareness anyway, was I think in the 80s there was a 4-way stop put in there, and it was taken away.
I think there was a roundabout there a long time ago, but that probably wouldn't work today because of the trucks and things. But I'm trying to remember, there was something there. I'm going back maybe the 70s.
Right.
But Jim, do you remember, was there, you don't remember? All right, well, we can look into that, but you're correct about some of these spaces. It's parked there sometimes during the day. I've gotten pictures now sent to me, so we're going to alert parking services and GPD.
Okay.
And you asked about Sharrows and about possible bike lanes, and we can certainly look into that. I don't know if it's already been looked into, but I've made a note of it now.
Yeah, no, it's you know, City of Stamford did it in a lot of high traffic areas for cyclists.
Right.
It's not an answer necessarily, it's more an awareness thing. So if it's an easy fix or awareness item, it might be something to consider on main thoroughfares in town where cyclists are.
Yeah, we're looking at everything, so I hadn't thought of Valley Road, but we can look into it.
Okay. And then as far as sort of tying back to enforcement, again, parking related, when this is put in place, or if it's put in place, people abuse parking all the time. So my question is, under optimal sightline circumstances, this is a safe intersection, a safe proposal, what happens when no one abides by the parking regulations and you don't have line of sight to the 4-way stop? How does it work then?
Tickets, and you've put everybody on notice now with this. So, and I've made notes of it. So I'm going to reach out to Deputy Chief Bonnie, Captain Bonnie, to take a look at that and make sure that there's enforcement there, and that we may make sure that people don't lapse back into bad habits.
Do we have a count on the spaces being removed?
Yes, we do.
Do you want to talk about that now or
Wait.
next?
Wait.
It's
3?
That's fine.
3.
Okay.
3.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I can look at that when it comes up, I guess. And then I do have, I don't know how notices go out. I actually didn't get notified. One of my tenants got notified, so I got the packet as far as the ordinance change, parking change, and intersection change. But I know the dog groomer, that's literally, she's the most affected. She's not here because she's working, but I have a letter from her as well. She had no idea it was even going through, so I don't know that she was ever notified. She said, you know, we asked her and she said she didn't get a packet in the mail saying, you know, the changes that were proposed. And she's probably the single most affected person because there's 2 spots in front of her. And, you know, you could have 5-minute parking there because people are literally in and out and very quick.
Today, she would not be allowed to have any parking there, to have a business.
Right.
Yeah, that was, that's right next to where my cousin's nursery was for years. Those businesses will not be allowed to.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have, I'd like to see it too, because
Yeah.
we don't, again, we're not looking to hurt anybody, but she really is right in the middle.
Yeah, she's probably the single most affected
Yeah.
entity by this,
Yeah.
so, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, she'd like to be here, but she's working, so we can give you the letter that she wrote.
Yes, please, and I'll call her too.
Okay. Okay, that's what I got.
Thank you, John.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
I'm sorry, I can't really read this that well. Kristen Butler, what was that? Kirsten, I'm sorry.
Kirsten.
And your last name?
Butler?
Okay, thank you very much, I apologize.
Morning,
Here's the
Kirsten.
letter.
Oh, you got it, thank you. This is from your,
It's from Lisa,
Thank you so much.
So Daisy said, I went over there last night to just make sure she was going to come to the meeting or just to let her know, remind her, and she had no idea. The physical therapist that's next to Back Cycles had not been notified. They weren't aware either. The upholstery shop was not aware. They weren't notified. I did get a copy and had let John know, and that's how he knew to look out for it, and asked his tenant. So
Well, that's
there
why
wasn't very good notification.
So we had 3 reads on this, and the reason why we kept delaying it was so everybody could be contacted. So I don't know, I'll certainly, because I know they were working on this for weeks and weeks and weeks, and when I said, why aren't we, why isn't it on the agenda? This was like a month ago. They said, we're still trying to, we've reached out to some people and haven't heard back yet, and we're continue to work. So I think that was, what was? You send out to everybody? Yeah, Luann, can you come up, because again, this is relevant, because I appreciate it. Because that was the whole reason we did this, is to make sure that people are contacted, to let them know what the town was thinking about doing.
It seems odd that several didn't get it.
Yeah.
Good morning. Yes, matter of fact, I don't have the list of addresses in front of me, but on October 12th, the letter went out to Bailey Road and the extension Schofield. The letter stating, the date here, the Board of Selectmen on the 14th, and to respond with any feedback by November 4th to Parking Services. We might have heard from 1 or 2 individuals, but that was it. So
Do you know how many, Luann, went out?
I don't know, I can get that.
All right, because I'm just trying to make sure that people, I know that you made a really good faith effort, but I just want to know if somebody may have been missed, because again, to them, this has to be done, but I mean, to them, I don't want them to think that we were trying to pull a fast one. That's why we kept pushing this off and pushing this off and pushing this off, to make sure everybody was
Is
contacted.
there a list of the businesses that were contacted?
We have a list of addresses.
Yeah, if you.
By address,
yeah,
we can
if you-
provide that to you.
If you could send it to me later, and then and if somebody was left off there, I'll
Because
call
like the
them.
Canine Clippers is part of another house, so the person at 80 that's in the house part may have gotten it, but she has a business owner.
Yeah, she's in the
little-
front.
In the front did not get it.
Yeah, okay. No, thank you. Thanks, Luann.
So that was a big concern of mine when I went last night to just remind everybody about the meeting, and everybody had no idea about it. Like John, my concern is the parking. I go at 4:30 in the morning. On my way, I see all the parking spaces on the hill between Schofield and Nassau being filled up with employees from the carting service. The little side street on Schofield, also, all those parking spaces are gone by 5:15 in the morning. So one of the big concerns when I was talking to the pet groomer is where her customer is going to park. The majority of them are handicapped. They have service and therapy dogs, and they can't walk up and down a hill. And then there's only, from the packet, it looked like there was only 2 spaces farther down by the St. Lawrence Club and the Cantaveros property that would be available. And for some of those people that are in wheelchairs and have canes, that's going to be, a long haul for them, and they won't be able to do it.
The people used to always park on the side of Schofield, right, next to the
It's
greenhouse.
all taken by like 5:15 in the morning. I took
Do we
pictures
know
this morning.
from
The employees from the carting service and residents.
up the road?
Yeah.
Okay.
They even
All right.
park in front of the St. Lawrence Club if they can't find parking on the side street or on the hill.
Okay.
So parking is a big issue. You have 5 businesses that use the parking that's like between the St. Lawrence Club up to Schofield. You have the physical therapist, which if you leave 2 15-minute parking spaces, physical therapy takes a lot more than 15 minutes. And if they have to park all the way up the hill or down the hill, a lot of them are going to physical therapy because they can't walk or have leg issues or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a little bit of a problem for them. Again, she didn't know about it, so she hasn't had time to research or think about it. The upholstery shop relies on the parking on the street too. People are usually pretty quick for there, but he was unaware of it as well. Let's see. I think John covered most of most of the issues, but that was probably the biggest. I know that some of the residents that have lived there all their lives did say back in the 80s they did have stop signs. They did say they were removed because of the danger that it caused going down Valley Road on the hill. They said like when Chilla's auto body was on, the fire truck couldn't stop and it wiped out 6 cars. There was a woman who got rear-ended and had her fractured her back.
Yeah, I think
so
there
it caused
may-
a lot of accidents, and that's why it was removed.
There may have been a roundabout there. I don't know why I'm thinking. Oh, I don't know. But anyway,
So I just want to make sure.
Yeah, no,
The concern, I think, for a lot of people that I've talked to that live around there, is the.
there's a parking. Yeah, no, we're aware of
Parking
that.
and the stop sign
We're
on
aware
the
of that,
hill.
but again, people have been hit there, and I've seen people hit there, and there's been, since I was a kid, and it's gotten worse, and there's more cars.
There's a lot more traffic.
There's a lot
Yep.
more traffic, but we have to, you brought up some things now with, you're the second person that's brought up now about businesses taking up some of that parking.
And even though the St. Lawrence Club does a lot of things in the evening, like this morning, they have a business networking meeting. People park out front, their lot is full in the back, you know.
Yeah,
so-
that's not every day, but still,
It's
to
just
your
Thursdays.
point, if somebody needs to get in, where Daisy's is, I mean, it's a bad spot. I mean, that would never be granted today.
Right, but I think she said it was part of her site plan when she got approval for her business to be able to open that, the parking,
Yeah.
the street parking was part of the site plan approval.
Yeah, again,
And have we explored like flashing lights like they have in Stamford, when
just-
somebody wants to cross?
just so you know, like in Glenville, right, when we're redoing the whole Glenville corridor, Frankie, who owns Glenville Pizza, is losing those 2 spaces in the front there, which have always been dangerous, but he's always had. So we didn't want to hurt that business because that really is a hit and run because we go in to get a couple slices. So we gave them 3 more, just three spaces on the same side, just down a little bit, because the state will not would not do that project at an intersection if there was spaces right there in the intersection. That's the same thing with where Daisy is. But let's continue to work.
And also the stop sign where I am at the River Road extension, I think that's great that they want to pull it out, but there's also a bush that blocks the line of sight. Even if you pull it out a little bit, it still blocks the line of sight. I don't know if that's possible to ask, private homeowners to trim back their
I'll stop and see you later.
Bushes. Okay.
Yeah, I'll stop and see you, because I definitely want to explore it, because I think there are some answers there for Daisy. And I know where your place is there, it's not the easiest in the world backing out of
I
there.
already get a lot of their customers parking over where I am, which,
That's
part
big.
of it, but.
All right,
Thank you.
we'll circle back later. Thank you, Kirsten.
Mr. Horlacher, I'm going to recognize you to speak. I apologize again for not being able to get your slides online, but the selectmen all have copies of your presentation.
Oh, yes, thank you very much for doing that. I understand why you couldn't get the slideshow presentation up, it's okay. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My wife and I are here. I'm going to do most of the speaking today. My name's Scott Horlacher, and my wife is Kimberly Frederoli Horlacher. First of all, want to thank the DPW for doing this study, and the Board of Select Men and Women for considering it. I do think that the speeds on this road are a big problem, and the traffic. So much that my wife and I follow the speed limits, and I know for myself, I'm coming down from the water direction and trying to go 25 miles an hour and I'm constantly tailing. I'm thinking, I don't want to get a ticket here, and this is how the speed needs to go now, guys. But anyway, that being said, so first and foremost, we are very much in favor of increasing the safety in the entire area, slowing down traffic. It's very dangerous. I think the last 2 presentations were excellent. My wife and I come at it more from the residential perspective. I appreciate the first selectman's comments about people being affected on River Road with not being able to get out of their driveway. I guess that's, totally can empathize with what's going on for them. I worry, though, that the stop sign placed right near our property will make it more difficult for us to get out. It's already very difficult to get out. So again, I know there's multiple interests at stake here, but my wife and I feel it's necessary to to bring that to your attention, which, based on the comments from Selectwoman Rabin, it seems like she's sensitive to that issue and maybe read my PowerPoint presentation. Thank you. And then I guess I'm not as well prepared as the last two speakers, but a couple things I heard mentioned by, I believe, Selectwoman Rabin and the last speaker are the trucks coming down the descending hill that'll stop at the stop sign right off our driveway. I don't have empirical data, but we are concerned that they won't be able to stop and that could create problems. As far as parking goes, I think my fifth slide showing a UPS truck parked right where, I know that's illegal, but this is what's happening on our street. I sent in a video so you can see all the traffic trying to go around him. Granted, I know this is illegal, and I heard the first selectman say, there needs to be more enforcement of fines and tickets, but I just wonder, will that really happen? Because, it's just, are you gonna have a policeman on the corner to do that? I know you're trying, but, what's the reality of that taking place? Are they really gonna be fined? I mean, right now, we've got all these speeders going up and down, and there's no way to, there's usually a policeman, sorry to tip off the rest of the community, but there's usually a policeman where there's an area by the river where he can park and track speeders, but there's nowhere to track them in other important areas, like going up the hill, coming down the hill. So I don't know how we can address that. I pointed out in my slide that, and I think Kimberly pointed out, maybe we could use Nassau Place. Maybe you could put a stop sign there to start slowing cars down. I know they can start to speed up again. Maybe a flashing sign there like they have on the opposite side of Valley Road going towards Mahannis, where I think there's a flashing sign that says, speed 25. I don't want to impact somebody else's residence, but just I'd like to come up with some other solutions to this problem before we race to a four-way stop sign. And, where it's situated really does affect our property. I mean, as it stands with the parking, I mean, I don't know which business they're coming from, and, it doesn't bother Kim and I, but you have cars turning around in our driveway. I just want to make you aware of all the different factors going on. I appreciate that the GPW, conducted a study, but we've been living here for 5 or 6 years and see it on a daily basis, especially since I work out of the home. And, we're here at night too. Luckily at night, there's not much traffic, so it's less of an issue then. It's mostly daytime. So anyway, that's our feedback. Again, we appreciate everything you're doing. I don't have the solution either, but I appreciate the opportunity to speak and raise our concerns.
Scott, thank you so much, and your photos are helpful, and actually it shows one obstructing the view parked in the illegal spot that we were talking about. But yeah, that's why we talked about doing some signage to alert people up the road from you a little bit. And again, we'll also rely on you and everybody else there to give us constant feedback. We'll be going over there, and to answer your question, yes, they will be ticketed. We've heard that loud and clear, and you're correct. It's hard to be all over the place, 67 square miles, and having a limited amount of people doing those shifts. But certainly, we're aware of this, and I will be reaching out to GPD after this meeting, and we'll set up some type of a plan there. And I've also heard some other things that are I think will be very helpful going forward. But we're going to keep monitoring it, Scott. So
appreciate it.
yeah, no, and it hasn't fallen on deaf ears. We absolutely understand where you're coming from. You're right there in the middle of that, so we understand that.
And last comment, and then I'll turn the floor over. Appreciate the notion that, this is something we can reconsider in 6 months, but I would say that once you put something in, it's hard to take it away. So that would be my comment on that.
Yep. No, I totally understand. Again, we're, as you've alluded to, and you acknowledged that we're coming at it from a public safety standpoint. But again, everything we do, we always make sure that we try to put something in to fix a problem and not create any other one. So that's why we're going to keep monitoring it. And we have no problem at all to adjust if we see the need to. So let's definitely keep in touch on this.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thanks, Scott.
Everyone.
Take care. Okay. Any more questions or comments before we? Oh, sure. I'm sorry. Hi. Oh, just to green.
Okay. Hi, I'm Carmela Covello, and I am 84 Valley Road. Oh, okay.
Right next
Now,
to,
your
right,
stop signs that they're looking to put up, in order for me to get out of my driveway, I can't legally move. I mean, I've done it for 85 years, so.
back to the pizzeria days.
Right.
Yes.
Yes, yes, long time. Well, as I said, I always manage to get out, thank God, and not have an accident, but I don't know with stop signs put up is, my driveway, you come River Road Extension, face right into my driveway.
Yes.
And you have to either pull out, just wait for traffic not to be there. And if you're going to go into Greenwich, you take a right or you go straight to River Road. With signs up, does that mean I'm not allowed to move out of my driveway? That's going to be illegal to do that?
No, you have the right to go in your driveway and out of your driveway. Am I missing your question?
Well, I don't understand with stop signs. They said something about stop signs
I
up.
think what she's trying to say is if there's 4 people at the stop signs, where is she in that configuration? Because she's like almost a fifth stop sign.
Do you know what the?
Am I still going to be able to take a right to get out or go straight or is that there's?
Definitely take her, yeah, you definitely take a right. But her drive, where Ms. Cavello's driveway is? It's literally right. Yeah, it's right where this whole intersection is there.
Yeah,
And the
and
house, and then there's a little.
Yeah,
building
right,
in the back.
and she said right across from
The deli.
the deli, yeah. So it would just function like another stop sign. We don't typically put stop signs in the driveway themselves, where this does happen in some cases, but it would just function like a stop sign, and I actually think it would be easier to get out if everybody is coming to a full stop rather than having traffic moving at
Right.
35 miles an hour through the intersection.
Okay.
But she obviously could take a right, that's obvious, but it would be hard for her to take a
She just
left.
has to take turns with the rest of the cars that are at the stop signs, just as if it's like a fifth
Yeah.
stop sign, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Also, I think I don't know if people are aware of the fact that I think the dog groomer, there is, on Schofield, if you take a right, that's Mr. Werner's property. And there's a whole lot of parking back there that people can walk through. Instead of entering with their pet from the front door, they can use a back door.
Yeah, and Kirsten, that's what I mentioned before. Kirsten said that's another business takes up a lot of those spaces, but we're going to look into that and see, because
I mean,
that's
it's not paved, it's not,
No, that's
not the best.
that was the
but
old, next to the old
Used to be the greenhouse. Right.
Sunny Marzullo, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, okay, that's the first thing I thought of, so we're going to look into that. I have a lot of notes here to follow up on, so thank you for.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you.
And Jay's doing well.
For those that don't know, it was some of the best pizza in Greenwich was Cavello's Pizzeria back in the 70s and 80s and 60s. And anyway, thank you, Carmela. Okay.
So, I hate to say this, but I'm not ready to vote.
Well, you can abstain if you. I mean, this is the third read, and
I'm not.
Well, then you guys could outvote me, but I'm ready to vote. That's a
Well,
big-
I don't want to vote against the proposal necessarily. I just feel like I don't think we want to be seen as cutting out several small local businesses from the discussion. And
They were contacted, and we're going to get a list of that. They were contacted, and we've had this before where letters have gone out and people have not responded. Now, maybe they missed it, but this is a third read. And again, this is a public safety issue, so I am ready to vote on this now. If you, both of you aren't, that's fine too. Then I'll be outvoted, but we'll have to take it up again. But I'm ready to vote now, so if there's no motion, I'll make the motion.
I'm not comfortable, just based on information that I've been sent in the past couple of weeks. And for multiple businesses that did not seem, I'm not saying that we didn't send it, but I'm just not comfortable voting today.
Okay, I will make the motion. But if we can get a list of that, of those businesses, because again, I'm going to contact them all, and some of them I know, some of them are friends of mine. But again, I just don't think delaying this is helping anybody, but
Well, I'd also, if it's okay, I'd also like, if this is a package with our next agenda item, and we're not going to be voting on that today, I'd like to vote on it together, just as a matter of...
well, yeah, I think it goes together. So obviously, I think there's no reason to delay this vote, and I want to be on record for that, so.
Okay. Well, go ahead.
I move that we approve the request for the intersection modifications at Valley Road, at River Road Extension, and Schofield Street. Is there a second? No? All those in favor? Fred Camillo's a yes?
Well, if there's no second, it can't be heard.
Oh, that's right. So anyway, I just wanted that on the record that I was ready to vote today because we've had 3 reads on this and people have been asking for years and years.
Our next meeting is November 26th, so it's less than 2 weeks away.
Okay, I
Yes.
just wanted
And
it
we
out
will-
there.
I promise I'll vote on the 26th.
And
Provided that we've reached out to these small businesses.
Yeah, and Luann's going to provide, God bless you, Luann's going to provide us all of those things. And again, sometimes they get them and they, for whatever reason, I don't think they're ignoring them, they just think it gets lost in the mail, and whatever, they just forget.
Understood, but now we know.
Yeah, okay, thank you so much, I promise we'll get this done. And we're also, I got a list of all these things, a lot of homework that you gave me, so I'll work on that. Thank you, everybody. Okay, next up is the request to, so we're going to do new business. We're going to skip over that one then, about the parking, because I think it goes hand in hand.
But don't we have to hear it so that we can then...
postpone it.
Yeah, but I don't know who's going to. Yeah, just present it and then we'll, thank you.
Defer.
Okay,
In the place of James Bonney is.
I know, I keep stopping for all these GCs, let me tell you. Not quite the same, but I try my best. Okay, part and parcel, we were working with civil engineer Michael Kislak and DPW engineering. They assisted us with their recommendations, but at the end of it, the bottom line is, if and when that four-way stop is installed, it would affect parking. And then in the packet, we show you the current parking spaces, whether they be legal or not, whatever. So basically the ramification of that. Micah can speak more in detail of it, but I don't know if we need to go into that level of detail at this time, maybe the next meeting when, but if you have any questions.
Sure, just for clarification again, because I think Kirsten had asked. All told, or John, we're losing 3 spaces all told, right?
Yes, so.
In total?
Yeah, 3 in total. So there's the 2 spaces in front of the dog groomer that are in the ordinance as short-term spaces. So those are within the intersection. The state law is that you're not supposed to have parking within an intersection or within 25 feet of a stop sign or a crosswalk. So we're trying to correct that in this case. So it's the 2 spaces in front of the dog groomer, and then 1 space just upstream of that on southbound Valley Road, right before you get to the crosswalk. If you're going towards town, it'll be on the right side of the road there. So it's basically 2 spaces plus 1 before the crosswalk. And then we're also proposing to, since those short-term spaces are in front of the dog groomer, we're proposing to convert 2 spaces in front of the St. Lawrence Club, as you mentioned, into short-term, just so that businesses continue to get that turnover. So we counted 15 spaces on that stretch. It's going to go down to 12, but we're going to keep 2 short-term spaces just so that we make sure that, to help the businesses out as much as we can, because obviously, as we've heard, it's very important to them that they have the parking. So yes, it will be a little farther from the dog groomer, maybe 100 feet, but there will still be 2 short-term spaces.
Thank you. And so by state law, right now, you're not allowed to have spaces in an intersection, right? So they're legal right now.
There technically is a grandfathering clause,
Right.
but it's not something we recommend keeping. It causes a sightline issue for cars and for pedestrians, especially with the crosswalk right there, which we know we've had crashes and issues with. So we absolutely recommend, regardless of the stop sign, we actually recommend not having those 2 spaces there.
So in addition to the 2 short-term, hopefully, I am going to look into the Schofield Street thing and see, because Carmela's right. I mean, it's literally right around the corner there, and people have parked there for forever, and it's gravel. It's off the road there, but I think we have to really, Park Service, we have to really, really focus on that, because if there's 1 or 2 businesses that are up the road or down the road or that are taking those spaces all the time, those businesses that are right there are getting impacted by it. And if they're there all day long, that's an issue. So I think we really have to do something. We can help these businesses there, and I think that would help the bicycle shop too, would help the upholsterer, if those could become available. And I think I know which some of the other business they're talking about, but I think there's some opportunity here that can really help them. So regardless, we have to get this thing done, but I think there's a way to really see if we could help them a little bit more. And that would be not just for the groomer, but for everybody there. Okay, and you know what I'm talking about, the Schofield, those.
I do. I don't know. I think it was mentioned that it might be on private property. I'm not sure. I haven't reviewed those spaces.
I always thought it was, but
depth,
people still are parking there.
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder: is it private? Is it public? If it's private, could we come to some agreement with the property owner? It used to be the Marzullo family, but maybe there's got to be some solution there, because there are spaces around there, and rather than having them walk, too far. I think this would be very helpful if we can come to some type of accommodation there.
Yeah, I'm sure we can continue to look at how the parking functions overall there. In the future, it doesn't have to necessarily be, as this application is under review. Once we have the parking spaces established that we propose, we can certainly, with parking services, continue to discuss what's around there and how it's allocated. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Michael.
I just have, what's the window of the parking? Is it all day? Is it 2 hour? Is it 30 minutes?
So the spaces that are there today are actually missigned. They're posted as 2 hours, but the ordinance says 15 minutes. So I believe we're proposing 15-minute spaces.
On Valley Road.
On Valley Road, yeah.
Okay.
And I believe it is only timed between 9 and 5. Is that correct? We don't enforce it after 5 o'clock?
Yeah.
That would help.
Yeah, there's no meters on the other side. Okay. All right, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Next up, and we'll. Go too far. Yeah, I know. Next up is the request to establish speed limits on Woodland Drive. Michael's going to take that again, and Sam and Chloe were here, and I want to thank them for bringing this to our attention. I think it's very much needed. Thank you.
Yes. So we have Woodland Drive, and we also have 2 other speed limits here. So I don't think we've gotten a lot of pushback. I haven't gotten any. So I don't know if you want to talk about them one by one or together.
Well, I just think if we just briefly on each one, Woodland Drive is right around the corner from here, and it's historically a cut through.
Yep.
It's a nice little neighborhood, but there's kids there now, and there's some elderly people there, and I've even seen videos of some not so good driving and bad behavior. So.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, Woodland Drive is right down the road from here. It connects Soundview Drive to Field Point Road. It's a fairly short road, about a quarter mile in length, and it came to our attention that there's not a speed limit approved for that road today, so they can't conduct any enforcement. The police department can't conduct any enforcement since technically there's not a speed limit. We collected some data just to back up the process for speed limits. For those that aren't aware, is the state has to ultimately approve of all of our speed limits, but it starts locally. So with the board as the local traffic authority, you guys approve the recommendation for us to go to the state to request formal approval so that we can then post the stop signs. So we did a traffic study, collected data, traffic volumes and speeds. And, you know, Woodland Drive, as you'd expect, is fairly low volume. I think it was about 400 vehicles per day on average over a couple days of us monitoring. And so given the nature of the street, we're recommending 25 miles an hour. I haven't heard any pushback on that. I would think that's a pretty straightforward thing. You know, we pretty much, most residential neighborhoods, we go with 25 unless there's a really good reason not to. So that's the recommendation here.
Thank you, Michael. I know this is a first read, but this is just, I don't think we need a second read for this one because we're just allowing you to go to the state. We already know there's an issue there. And, you know, it's, you know, I'm willing to waive it, the second read on this one.
Yeah, that's fully up to you guys. Yep.
Same, I'm usually the one who's insisting on a second read, but this seems like a public safety issue. It just sort of boggles my mind that there are streets in Greenwich that don't have speed limits. Is that, so?
Yeah, there are still some that don't. For whatever reason, it just never went through the
got lots
the
of
process.
roads.
Well, we do have a lot of, I'm just
Yeah.
wondering if, I don't know, is it worth kind of taking an inventory and just saying we want speed limits on any road that doesn't have a speed limit?
They usually want to see a study done before
Okay.
they'll approve it, and then the state does their own follow-up of, they'll
see.
go out and drive, you know, look at the road.
There's an
And
expense
so,
associated.
Okay.
yeah,
Right.
exactly. We have to collect traffic data,
Right.
so it's not as easy as just setting a town-wide speed limit either. I don't think we're allowed to do that.
Okay.
So it's kind of one by one as they come up. Most roads have speed limits, but
Okay.
not all, as we've seen. Yeah.
And I saw Sam shaking his head yes to the 25 mile an hour.
Nope.
Sure, come on.
Hi, everybody. And I just wanted to say a
Could you
special.
just please identify yourself for the
Oh,
record?
my name is Sam Rosenfeld. I'm an RTM member for District 1. My wife Chloe was here as well. She's also an RTM member. And I wanted to start by firstly thanking you so much, Fred, Mr. First Selectman, for it's been a few months of trying to figure out what is the process to go through. And I also want to give a huge thank you to DPW and Michael Kislak for making this happen. You know, we actually went around our street asking our neighbors about 25 miles an hour this past week just to see what the rough reaction is. And as some of you might be startled to find, like, oh, there isn't a speed limit? Yeah, 25 miles is probably a good idea. And then there's always the next follow-up of, well, there are the frequent offenders of who's speeding. There's commercial traffic that tends to be, you know, anecdotally, we could say is the large volume of our speeder offenders that we see, you know, and we can readily identify those vehicles. You know, the long story short here is we don't really know why there are these roads that, you know, we have a house on our road, Pete Wellington, who really wanted to be here. His house was built in 1893. So some of these roads, like you said, there are many roads in Greenwich. It's not really for me to speculate about why there aren't official speed limits. I'm just happy to see when everyone is presented with this oddity, how quickly we can all resolve the issue. So thanks for your attention. The last thing I'll mention is we have an 18-month-old daughter, Hannah, who's really learning to walk. We're going up and down the sidewalk. Our street is beautifully paved. The sidewalks have been redone recently. And so, you know, there's the added anxiety. We know, everyone knows, when you leave Woodland Drive and get on Field Point and Sound View right behind us here, there's a whole world of other topics to talk about with actually crossing the street to get to Town Hall. That's not even the issue. It's just when we leave our front door feeling safe that, you know, she's not going to step out into the street and one of these cars that go 50, which happens a couple times a day, is there. So anyway, I'll stop talking, but thank you for taking this up.
Thank you, Sam, and thank you for being a good advocate and letting us know.
I just wanted, before we vote, I mean, why 25 and why not something lower? I just want to put that out there.
Yep, we get asked this frequently. So the state has effectively told us that they don't see anything under 25 as a reasonable speed to ask people to abide by unless there's a really strong reason to, like if you're in a really dense downtown environment where there's a lot going on, maybe near schools or things like that, train stations. It's the extenuating circumstances that they'll allow that. So 25 is generally the minimum for most roads.
That's
I
great, thank you.
remembered that.
Thank you, Michael.
Before we were running, I was attending Board of Selectmen meetings, and I remember this issue coming up to get to 15 miles an hour.
Exactly. Well, I can attest, 15 miles an hour is the limit around Todd's Point. That's where I bike. So I know that I am capable of 15 miles an hour, but it is pretty darn slow, so.
Yes, sir. Just identify yourself. Thank you. Good morning.
My name is Rick Lutz, and I'm the property owner at 39 Woodland Drive. By the way,
Do you mind spelling your name, sir, your last name?
There you go.
my name is Rick Lutz, and I'm the property owner at 39 Woodland Drive.
LUTZ.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I just want to start by saying outstanding job on the election. It really was fantastic. So I've owned this property now for 7 years, and the traffic on Woodland Drive has only increased in that period of time. In fact, I was surprised to hear, did you say 400 vehicles in the study period that you've done? I'd be willing to bet more than half of those were Lexus. As we all know, they have multiple locations, then they use that street commonly for cut-through from one location to the next. There are so many different issues. In fact, it's a miracle that there hasn't already been a tragedy on Woodland Drive, particularly this time of year, with the leaves piled and the street getting narrower. It's already a narrow street, and young families and dogs and heavy pedestrian traffic. It's really bad. Thank you for asking the question about whether or not it's viable to have a lower speed limit posted. And I would say if that's not, perhaps in lieu of that, maybe there are other measures that could be taken that I'm assuming would be under separate consideration and not in the scope of this discussion, but namely speed bumps, no commercial traffic signs, no through traffic signs. Perhaps those are some things that you and Chloe could take up at another time. But in any event, I want to thank Sam and Chloe for taking this up and for you folks for considering it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rick. Much appreciated.
All righty, so Lauren Rabin, I motion that we approve the request to establish speed limits, or I move that we approve the request to establish speed limits on Woodland Drive.
Janet Stone McWigan, I second.
All those in favor, Fred Camillo's a yes.
Lauren Rabin, yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Michael. Next up is the request to establish speed limits on Will Mary Lane and Springhouse Road, and this is a first read, and Michael's here again.
Hello again. Hi. Yeah, so this is, like I mentioned, we have another couple of roads that don't have speed limits on them. So hopefully this is fairly straightforward as well. We haven't gotten any pushback. But so Will Mary Lane and Springhouse Road are two roads that sort of, you might think they're one road, but they kind of transition about halfway through. They connect Round Hill Road to Old Mill Road, right near the Old Mill Lake Ave Merritt Parkway ramps. Both roads are just south of the Merritt Parkway. So again, we did a study to collect traffic data. It's similar volumes actually to Woodland, so it's about 400 vehicles per day on average we saw. And again, it's a primarily residential street. Well, all the development is residential, and there's some curvature on the roads, so we're recommending 25 miles an hour for these roads as well.
Okay. Thank you, Michael. And we have one person that wanted to speak on this one.
We have Jerry Brodsky first, or, okay, Ms. Inez Kingsley? Okay.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
It's Enos Kingsley, and I'm also 85 years old, so I wanted to say that. And I brought my neighbor, who is the biggest walker, because we are having trouble walking on Will Mary Lane. There is not constant traffic all the time, but very, very often they come speeding through there, and 50 is, I think, a low. Sometimes it's even more than that. Okay. And so I think we would like a speed limit signs, not only one, but maybe 2 or 3, just to kind of make people think when they come through. Because we have a double yellow line, which says to a lot of people this is okay. So that's what we are hoping to accomplish today, and I think it's pretty straightforward.
Yes.
And thank you.
Thank you very
You're
much.
wonderful, and Michael Kieselak was wonderful. He responded to my letter, and I really appreciate it. So, thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
This is Jerry Brodsky.
Jerry Brodsky. I'm only 76, so I still walk a lot on the road. In the last 4 years, we've seen a tremendous increase in the traffic. People, the traffic on the Merritt Parkway, which I'm sure you're aware of, which is very slow at certain times of the day, and with the use of things like Waze and Google Maps, people view our street as a way to avoid 3/4 of a mile of traffic. There are no speed limit signs there. There is a yellow curvature in the road sign near the exit ramp at exit 29, which is Old Mill in Wilmary, but it's a yellow sign. People don't pay attention to it at all. The pole is there. One suggestion I thought of is replace the yellow sign with a big white speed limit sign because the pole's right there. You definitely need a speed limit sign near the junction of Round Hill and Springhouse Road, because that's where the speedier drivers get off the Merritt, take a right on Round Hill, take a left on Springhouse, and there's no signs there. And I can tell you, I've seen some cars going as much as 45 or 50 miles an hour on a street which has a number of older people who like to walk.
With their dogs.
With their dogs, most of the time. We both have dogs. And a number of younger families who've moved in with children in the last year. I've saved a couple of kids from getting hit, particularly with respect to cars coming from exit 28 to exit 29. I prefer not to have to do that. And I've even had a policeman tell me, who was monitoring a crew from either Eversource or Verizon, who almost got hit by a car going in that direction. And I was walking, he said, "Do you have a lot of cars going that speed?" And I said, "Yeah, unfortunately we do, and there are no signs." He said, "You should be able to get at least a couple of signs." And that's a expert's, that's a policeman's view.
We're about to work on that now, so.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Jerry. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. And
Thank you.
Thanks. And I think for the same reason that we waived the second read on the last one, we'll do that here too.
Yes.
So Lauren Rabin, I move that we establish speed limits on Wilmary Lane and Springhouse Road.
Janet Stone McWigan, I second.
All those in favor, Fred Camillo's a yes.
Lauren Rabin, yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mike. Okay, next up is a request for a variance to the town noise ordinance to allow earlier start times on the Central Middle School construction job.
So this is my agenda item. I mentioned it in my Select Women's update in our last meeting. We are going out to bid for all the vendors and contractors, and most people don't live in our area that will be working on the construction site. So we were asked to create more bids for the work, if we can start construction earlier in the day, which would allow the tradesmen to leave earlier in the day and avoid 95 traffic going back to wherever they reside. So it's 1 hour earlier.
Got it. I'm sorry that Fred had to momentarily leave. This sounds straightforward. I know I don't want to get ahead of the Old Greenwich School Building Committee game, but Old Greenwich School is also going to have to do something similar to get a variance on the noise ordinance. It's reassuring that there's very few people who'd be affected, but I would like to, just like we have done in the past, put an expiration date on it so that everyone has to come back and we can revisit and we have a chance at.
I believe, like we've done in the past, there needs to be a public hearing on this.
Oh,
Okay.
Right.
okay.
It's a variance to the noise ordinance, similar to what we had with the leaf blowers.
All right, so in other words, you're saying it's not an agenda item, it's,
Yeah.
we'd have to,
I mean,
we'd
I
have
will,
to post
I
it
will
as a
check,
public
but
hearing.
I believe
Okay.
you do need to have a public hearing.
All right, that's fine.
And then it would be a written decision, like we've done in the past.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we could just
Same
set a public
process-
hearing for the
same
next meeting,
process.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
All right.
But while I'm commenting, I was going to say, I'm happy to accommodate this. I think, though, that everyone, just like we just heard with the North Street Bridge concern, everyone wants this project to stay on time. So allowing workers to leave at a reasonable hour, that seems great, but I hope that means that we're not, how do I say this? I hope we're doing everything to expedite the project, and that maybe it goes the other way, that we allow maybe a second shift to come and work later.
Yeah, that hasn't been brought up yet.
Understood, but I'm just using this as a opportunity to put that out there, that we really do care very much about keeping this project on time.
And as of today, it's starting on time. So Fred, what you missed is we have to do a public hearing. So next meeting will be a public hearing because this is a variation to the noise ordinance. And then we need a written decision, just like the leaf blower.
The same process as we did with the other variances.
Okay, and the time frame would be, how long of a variance would this be for?
For the length of the construction.
Do we have any idea?
It's slated to complete, if it starts December 2024, I believe it would be February of 2026, but I have to go back. I'm going from memory.
Well, and I was just saying, just like we did with an earlier variance, I would propose that we just give it a 2-month variance or something like that, not with the intention of ending the variance, but to just give all the parties a chance to regroup, make sure that everything's working.
Going well, yeah.
Going well, and that we have a chance to address
Because that would be
issues.
14 months.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know that I would want to grant the variance from the beginning for 14 months. I think.
Well, we could do like we do sometimes these projects, we circle back in 3 or 4 months and give us an update on where you are, and also give us some feedback from the residents. Again, we want to make sure this project gets done right and gets done as quickly as possible, but also there are people in the neighborhood, so I think that's probably a good idea, maybe just to.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, is we would give I don't know, you make up the amount of time, whether it's 1 month, 2 months, 3 months.
If it's a 14-month thing, I would say maybe 3 or 4 months, we could, figure out.
Decide that next.
Yeah.
That's fine,
Makes sense.
that's fine.
All righty. Thank you. No other questions, comments there. All right, the next one is a request to accept the gift of a statue of President George H.W. Bush to be displayed on town property. I'm just going to give an update here. We're not going to be voting on anything right now. It's receiving a lot of good feedback, but we want to make sure we do the process exactly right. So we're trying to follow the blueprint of other gifts, like a Coscow Park, so that those things went, the Board of Selectmen can certainly support it and sign off on it, but before it goes to the RTM for gift acceptance, we think it's better that it has MI, Municipal Improvement, granted from the Planning and Zoning Board Commission. So that's what we're going to do. They're going to get a site plan, and then that will be the first thing that we're going to present standalone, and then eventually we're going to go back and offer a gift acceptance of lighting up the flagpole, the obelisk, and then taking the old drinking water fountain that's not working and making it a lit up water fountain, not too high off the ground. So, and then rededicate it as Veterans Plaza Park, which was first dedicated in 1927. So it's just really enhancing the area, and with the addition of a statue and the conversion of an old drinking fountain that's not working anymore. So that's all we're out there. This would be paid for privately. The donor's name is out there already. But does like everything else, it has to be accepted as a gift. So we think it's a good project. It's a person who spent his first 18 years of life in Greenwich. He was the youngest person to be shot down in World War II at age 18. He flew 58 combat missions. He served our country in many, many roles, ultimately ending up as the 41st president. It's a pretty big deal. I think we could all agree that he earned a statue. So we'll work on that, but we'll make sure it's done right as far as the process goes. Next up
I guess clarify, he earned a statue in Greenwich.
Okay. That's exactly.
Excuse me. Before we move on, we do have one member of the public online who wishes to speak on this issue, Ms. Laureen Taylor. Do we want to recognize?
Sure.
Okay.
Again,
Ms. Taylor, please keep your remarks to the point. Thank you.
Yes, good morning. Laureen Taylor here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
We can.
Oh, great. I'll start by, I'm a veteran of the U.S. military with multi-generational ties to Greenwich. First, I would like to say I'm very sorry to hear from First Selectman Camillo at the start of this meeting about the passing of Don Sylvester. I heard Don's voice briefly at last evening's held Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. I do offer my heartfelt condolences and prayers to Don's friends, neighbors, and family members at this difficult time. Regarding the topic of accepting a gift of statue of President George H.W. Bush for display on town property on Greenwich Avenue, a gift of funds described by Greenwich resident L. Scott France as referenced in his signed letter dated October 28, 2024 to First Selectman Camillo, I believe the general public and recognized stakeholders to the project need access to all of the research material to enable either one's support or disagreement with this proposal. So I do appreciate what First Selectman Camillo mentioned about it having to go to the MI process. This proposal for this Bush legacy statue apparently involves public-private partnerships, including L. Scott France and his Greenwich-based company. I found information about this proposed Bush statue gift that will cause changes to the Veteran Plaza Park on Greenwich Avenue scattered in material posted on Town of Greenwich website and referenced in local Greenwich news articles. One article was by Greenwich Patch Richard Kaufman, July 28, 2023. In that article, he discussed recently held meeting of the Greenwich Board of Selectmen. I assume it was July 27, 2023. And Mr. Kaufman noted in his article that their information would be given to the public in the next 2 weeks. I didn't see anything subsequently remarking about this. And he also noted opportunities for feedback and input from the community before plans are finalized. So again, I do appreciate this plan stated today for MI process. And lastly, when I did review the final approved minutes of the Greenwich Board of Selectmen dated July 27th, there was brief mention of the restoration hardware. Camillo said there was a water fountain there. It didn't discuss anything about George H.W. Bush statue proposed. So I'm wondering if there was anything further to include the draft of the meeting minutes from July 27, 2023 that had more detail, because currently I cannot access the draft of those meeting minutes. The link is inactive. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Appreciate your comments. Next up, we're going to go to the presentation of the 2024 yearly review of the Harbor Management Commission. And our friend Chris Logano is here from the commission. Morning, Chris.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good. This is on? Good?
It is on, yes.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for giving me a few minutes to report on the Harbor Management Commission, our yearly review of 2024. I presented this at the Harbor Management Commission meeting in October. By the way, I'm the secretary of the Harbor Management Commission, for those that don't know. And was asked to come this morning to present this to you, and I just want to take a few minutes to give a quick review on some of the items that we discussed and took up this past year. So I'll start with number one. The Harbor Management Commission implemented a new online mooring system for 2024. This system is known as online mooring. We have found this system to be more user-friendly than the previous system, which was called the Lynx Log. So using online mooring, everybody that has a mooring can now go online and upload their documents and renew their mooring and pay their fees. So now we're getting much closer to getting all mooring holders identified and into the mooring system and getting all moorings, and this is both individual and commercial, in the Greenwich Harbor area, getting everything permitted. In 2024, we had 820 moorings, and that's both individual and commercial in the online mooring system. And I think the breakout is about half. There's about 400 individually owned moorings, and the rest are from mooring fields from the various yacht clubs in town and the town itself. So that was number one. Number two, Greenwich Harbor Dredge Project. We're finally making progress in getting Greenwich Harbor dredged. The Harbor Management Commission, with assistance from our consultant, Jeff Stedman, from Select Person Janet Stone McGeegan, and U.S. Representative Jim Himes, we finally made progress in getting the funding necessary to move the project forward. Representative Himes was instrumental in getting $500,000 in funds released from the federal government so that the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers can start determining the size and location of the CAD cell, which will be used for the placement and capping of any polluted dredge materials. So the CAD cell is basically finding out where we're going to dig a big hole, so to speak, put all the contaminated materials in there and then cap it with the clean material that was taken out. So that's what's being worked on right now, is the placement of the CAD cell, and hopefully that gets done sooner than later so we can keep the project moving forward. But we're on the list with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to get this project going in the right direction. And
usually they've been out like in the Sound, in the New York end of the water. And that was a issue for years, but hopefully that's not going to be as.
No, interesting enough, and then kind of surprising to us, this CAD cell is actually going to be somewhere probably within the Greenwich Harbor area, if not very, very close to. Yeah, so it was, we were a little bit surprised on the locations that they're looking at.
Interesting.
For this CAD cell that they're going to be digging. So we'll see. We'll get more information on that as it moves forward. Number three, removal of the lobster pots and docks from Coscob Harbor. This is a decades-long issue. The Harbor Management Commission, working closely with our harbor master, Paul Capielli. I was going to say we've made significant progress. Actually, all the docks and lobster pots have been removed from that area in Coscob Harbor by the I-95 bridge. There's just some submerged materials that still need to be brought up, such as some docks that broke apart, there's some timbers, and some mooring tackle that are submerged. But everything that you saw floating on top of the water is actually all gone. It's all been removed. So again, big thanks to Paul Capielli and working with the Harbor Management Commission and getting that project done. We're also making progress in getting, there's a lot of abandoned moorings in the Greenwich Harbor area. So our harbor master, again, is making progress in getting these identified. He's actually removed a few of them already. We're going to keep working on that. It's a big safety issue. Again, these are abandoned mushrooms that have stems sticking up that can potentially hurt someone jumping into the water, and that kind of stuff. So we're looking at, again, identifying them and getting them removed. And the harbor master has worked on it, and we may get some of our mooring vendors involved as well in helping us do that. The Harbor Management Commission reviews dock applications. We have our dock applications review committee. In 2024, we've reviewed approximately 20 dock applications, as well as applications for other structures such as pilings, stairs, seawalls that come before us throughout the year. We, again, we review the applications to make sure they're consistent with the Harbor Management Commission plan. We look to see whether there's any impacts to navigation. We determine the littoral property lines of neighbors to make sure they're not being impacted. We make sure that these projects don't encroach on the setbacks as set forth by federal and state requirements. And we also look to see if there's any impacts to shellfish beds after review by the Shellfish Commission. So we've worked on a number of dock applications for 2024, and we suspect, or we anticipate we'll work on a number going forward. And there's a program in the state of Connecticut called SHIP, S-H-I-P-P, which stands for the Small Harbor Improvement Projects Program. Thanks to Janet for bringing this to our attention and our consultant Jeff Stedman this past year. We're looking to see if we have any projects in the Greenwich Harbor area that may qualify for funding through this SHIP program. And that's something we want to see if we can get on their deadline by June 30th of 2025 to see if we can get funding through the SHIP program. This is a state of Connecticut program to improve the Greenwich Harbor area. Some projects may include for making, our marinas ADA accessible. That may, ADA access. That may be something like that. Possibly dredging of Greenwich Cove might qualify for a SHIP program. Anyway, we're looking into that. We're investigating it, and then once we determine if any projects qualify for this, we'll bring it to the Board of Selectmen for approval, and we'll make application before the deadline. So that's another program we're looking into. And that's most of the things that we've worked on this past year. The harbor management plan itself has a requirement that it be reviewed, which we've done. Some recommendations maybe to include like a flow chart in the harbor management plan as to the dock application process, just so those applying have a better idea of how the actual process works. So that's just one idea we've thrown out as far as maybe doing a supplement to the plan or an addendum, something along those lines. And then maybe including like a master dredge plan as well for the harbor management plan. So that's what I have to report on for our yearly review for the Harbor Management Commission for this past year.
Chris, thank you so much. I appreciate all the hard work here, and hats off to you guys for selecting Paul Capielli, who's just a quick story. There was he gets on things right away, and somebody reached out to me about an anchor that was showing in Coscow Harbor for years and years and years, and he can never get it taken care of. And I mentioned it to Paul, and he said, "Oh, you want to come out there with me?" And I said, "Sure." And I was going to go do it one day, and I don't know, I was actually even early, and he had nothing to do. He got done with his project before that, and I called him, and he said, "It's already done." And the guy was shocked that it was taken care of. So, I mean, he gets on things right away. So hats off for finding him. He does, and he's worked on these abandoned moorings himself so far, and actually going in the water and, getting them, attached and removed with the, so he's working, he's doing a good job, so we'll keep working on it. Yeah, thank you. All right, thank you.
So I just,
Thank you so much. Very thorough. You guys have accomplished a lot, and thank you, Janet, for being the liaison.
I'm just going to echo, thank you, Chris. Yes, I'm the liaison, and when the commission produced this annual report, which, by the way, they're not required to, it was on their own initiative that they did this. I said, this is just full of so many accomplishments. Please come before us, and, we'd like to recognize a lot of good work. I'll just make the same plug that Lauren's been making for SNAC, which is this is yet another example of a commission that is staffed by volunteer residents. We appoint, and we couldn't be more fortunate to have so many qualified volunteers in this town. So thank you.
I would just add, again, all the commissioners on the Harbor Management Commission, they all really step up, put the time in, do the work necessary. So it's good to see. Yeah.
No, thank you very, very much.
Right, thank you.
Even the kayakers approve. All right, thank you. Okay, next up, our last item is the request to expand the municipal food scrap recycling program, and Julie Deschamps is here from Waste Free Greenwich. Lots of good news coming out of the efforts of Waste Free Greenwich.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Julie Deschamps from Waste Free Greenwich. Thank you for the opportunity to share our proposal for exciting and promising program to expand our current food scrap recycling program. And I'll set the scene here. Due to the closure of the Hartford incinerator and aging infrastructure, about 40% of waste is now shipped out of state. And costs to municipalities and residents are projected to rise dramatically. Food waste makes up almost a quarter of our waste stream in Connecticut and in Greenwich. And reducing wasted food through prevention, donation, and recycling is the most promising solution to our state's waste management crisis. Since June 2020, Greenwich's voluntary food scrap recycling program has diverted over 1 million pounds of wasted food from incineration to higher use as compost. While the town's program is growing, a fraction of the potential food residual in our waste stream has been captured, and it's estimated that about 8 to 10% of Greenwich households do participate in the program. The major challenges to the program include limited hours and inconvenience of drop sites at Holly Hill under the supervision of DPW, and at satellite drop sites in Old Greenwich and Round Hill, which are managed by volunteers. These concerns have been expressed by residents during conversations and through a recent questionnaire completed by 134 residents. And thank you to Fred and Ken for including that in your newsletter. Our goal is to expand the existing food scrap recycling program to increase tonnages and participation and make food scrap recycling easy and accessible for all our residents. The proposed program features secure, fully enclosed units for food scrap collection that offer convenient and controlled 24/7 drop-off access. Registered users download a free app that enables them to locate available units and unlock them, limiting access to unauthorized users and cutting contamination. A contracted organics hauler picks up the materials 2 to 3 times a week and transports it to a licensed facility to be composted. Similar programs have been implemented in municipalities throughout the country, including New York City and Arlington, Virginia, and here in Connecticut in the town of Manchester. Stanford is planning to roll out 50-some units, and the Housatonic Resource Recovery Authority will launch it at 9 of their transfer stations in Fairfield County. The system is also under consideration in West Hartford and New Haven. In Greenwich, the units would be located on town properties, including Greenwich communities, parks, and train stations, throughout the town for greater accessibility and ease of use. In our questionnaire, residents have indicated a preference for the eastern side of town, central Greenwich, and Cos Cob. Locations have been investigated and assessed using a variety of criteria necessary for program success. You can see that in our proposal. We've requested to meet with department heads as soon as possible for discussion approval of these sites. We hope that the capital expenses will be funded by a materials management infrastructure grant through Connecticut Deep, while hauling and other operating expenses would be covered by funds raised through Sustainable Connecticut Community Matching Fund and other private sources. Participation and tonnages will be tracked through a web-based management system as well as the organics hauler. Through the program, we expect a considerable diversion of organic waste from the municipal solid waste stream and commensurate savings in tipping fees. We ask for your formal endorsement of the program and thank you for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. This is great news, and I look, the chart is well thought out, and I think you really covered a lot of things that need to be thought about when you're placing these bins, and it's hard to believe that we've gotten that, we started this just 4 years ago. And these are good numbers, but I think you hit the nail on the head. There's more out there, and we can do a lot more, and I think it's a great start, and this is terrific. If you have any issues with the meetings, let me know with the department heads, but I'm sure everybody will be excited to to help, because it's not only the right thing to do environmentally, but also it saves us money. That's a good thing.
Once you approve this, we'll have an endorsement letter for the three of you to sign.
That's what I was,
Okay. So, yeah, fantastic. I know that you know that we take our stuff to Holly Hill, or I don't, my husband does. So I just have a question about the charts, because some of them, the hauler access, if it's not checked, does that mean it probably wouldn't be considered?
Yeah, so we've been working with the organics hauler on what their needs would be. So if it's not checked, it would be difficult for them to pick up. Either there's a sidewalk that they couldn't get the carts down, or there's not ample room for their truck.
Bummer on WGCC.
Exactly.
so I echo, thank you so much. Pun intended, we're leaving a lot on the table. You know, we can do better. And yeah, I was just going to follow up. So we're going to have an endorsement letter that the three of us sign.
Yeah, once you approve this, the letter is prepared. I can have it printed out for you to sign.
Thank you, Kim.
This is a first read.
So does that,
Sure,
It's the first read.
it's a first read.
That was my question, is this the first read?
Yes,
It's a first read.
Yeah.
Okay, because a lot of people haven't seen the charts or have an opportunity.
yeah, no, it's not time sensitive, so, you know, if you could, do you have the chart, Karen?
No, I don't.
Okay.
It's a great concept, don't get me wrong, I just think that
You wanna
it
look at
needs
it?
to involve the community
Yeah.
and also the locations,
Yeah.
as to where they're proposed.
well, I was going to say, Julie, you need it by December 1st. I think we calculated that if this was a first read, we could still take a second read on the 26th.
Yeah, and there may
Okay.
be some questions that people are gonna ask about, you know, flies and things like that, and animals. So we'll be able to, in the next 2 weeks, any of those questions can be answered, so then we can get a vote in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I'll reiterate that the units are really like Fort Knox. They're built really, really well, and they lock automatically. The only way to get them open is through the app, so.
Yeah.
But
For
those
new-
questions-
they're very
yeah,
secure.
We want the questions asked in case, but thank you.
Yes. But for new parents out there, they'll appreciate, it's like a diaper genie. I don't think we'll have to worry about animals or
My
flies.
time.
Exactly.
My time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Julie. Okay, any comments at all?
Fred, I'm not on the docket or anything, and it's nothing that's related.
You-
Please speak to the microphone and identify yourself
It's-
first.
Yes.
Because we have appointments.
And I just wanted to express a situation. Sorry, my name is John Whiteside. I'm a rather well-known distance runner in town and God-fearing, church-going individual and so forth. I just feel it would be beneficial for me to share a circumstance in my life which has been occurring over the past year relating to housing and humanitarian purposes. I have a one-bedroom unit at the Putnam Green in town here. I've been there for 4 years. And I've been helping a rather well-known person in town who has 5 children, asked to stay with me on a temporary basis in my one-bedroom apartment. And I try to take care of these people and help them to get to school, all 5 of the children, all squatting in my living room. It almost feels as this has kind of fallen through the cracks. I've had human services involved, and their posture was, well, at this point, they're not considered homeless because they're staying with me, despite the 6 people, including me, 7 in my one-bedroom apartment. And also from Connecticut, I think she came down from, I can't remember the town, Division of Child and Family Services, twice came to my apartment and saw the circumstances and allowed it to remain as it was. So I know the housing laws, and I know that after 1 month, I would have to take them to housing court. And so for that first month, I took them out to at least a dozen places to live, and they couldn't get anything. And really, I don't want to have to take anybody to court at all. But in hindsight, it's really caused a lot of harm in my life, and I have a therapist. No good deed goes unpunished is very applicable. And I just don't want the situation to fall through the cracks that this has gone under the radar of Human Services, Division of Child and Family Services.
John, where's your apartment? Is it?
35T Putnam Green.
You're in Putnam Green.
So as of right now,
What has the management said there?
well, originally they thought it was, and my neighbors too, thought it was a great deed. I was helping these people, right? But it got to the point that they caused damage to my unit, structural damage, also my personal property, including some valuables have turned up missing from my home.
And the situation continues today?
Well, yes, first selectmen, but well, actually, they're not with me right now. They've been out of my unit since August, but they live next door to me. So they never paid me rent at all, and all of a sudden they have the ability to get a unit next door to me.
So
So I'm looking at I'm looking at being evicted because of the complaints of my neighbors from, and I don't want to name anyone, but the vulgarity and the physical violence of what I was perceiving at the time to be an abuser or an abusive family, and what I had to witness in my one-bedroom apartment. I just, in hindsight, it wasn't fair, and it just feels as if, and look in the rearview mirror, that I may have been a victim of being taken advantage of. And granted, I saw it as a situation of hardship, and it's very, very sad. And all I did was try to help, and the situation just went on and on and on, and it was really,
okay.
Yeah. I just wanted to express.
Thank you, John. The management there, I don't know who's.
Human Services.
I'll speak with somebody.
Okay.
But thank you, John.
Yeah, I just wanted to
appreciate it.
share.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi, Susan Muty, 46 Locust Street in Central Greenwich. I have two topics, a new one and a recurring one. So there's a new crosswalk that was painted at Steamboat by the train station as a result of the construction. And it was painted across Steamboat with no safety features. So traffic is coming from all different directions. You have people exiting the train station, people exiting the parking lot, people coming on either direction of Steamboat, including the traffic coming down from Greenwich Avenue. So I think there needs to be a crosswalk marker and perhaps even the kind of lighted crossing that they have over in Old Greenwich, because it's incredibly dangerous. So it's an invitation to cross at probably the most dangerous intersection because it's not truly an intersection.
Susan, have you reached out to DPW?
I have.
What'd they say?
I have heard nothing. They normally get back to me right away.
So
I
send
sent
them
a
another
photo.
email and copy me on it. My two email addresses, acamillo@gmail and my town one.
Okay.
And we'll look into it.
Yeah, because also I think that there needs to be some lighting underneath the railroad bridge as well, because it's completely dark.
So we've reached, so
Yeah,
that's a state issue. So we've, for the last 4 years, been going back and forth. And unfortunately, they had a wonderful liaison there. It was always great with DOT, and they've switched a few times, and it hasn't. I have another person there, and I'm going to call. But we talked about lighting it up, cleaning it up, and doing some things, letting us paint it, some of which need an encroachment permit. And they're, when we planted bulbs on the post road, that took several months to get their approval on it. So when we just started planting trees on the post road, that was a 4.5-year effort. I wish it was our property, it would have been done.
Well, is it MTA at that point?
Well, it's MTA.
I only asked because I used to be the former MTA liaison for the Village of
You
Pelham.
probably know this. So Connecticut has, I guess, a 35-65 agreement with them. We have 35% of the revenue and expenses. They have 65%. We have nobody from Connecticut on that MTA board. So we work through them. At least that's the way it always was when I was in the legislature. So we always work through DOT, CTDOT with MTA. Just a couple of years ago, I got them to take the graffiti when the state took the trees down on between exits 3 and 4, 3 and 4. On Indian Field Road and between Greenwich, people started putting graffiti up, the kids. So I finally got them through DOT to go there, and they took it all down, and then 2 days later, the graffiti came back again. But it's not easy. It's another layer when the MTA is involved. But DOT was the one we were working through there because that's DOT. Now, the railroad, you're talking about the railroad bridge, it's the same thing with the underpass for 95. It's dark, it's dirty. And so I'll reach out to Pam Siccato at DOT and see if she can.
Great. I mean, I don't know if it helps to have like a letter from a constituent. I'm happy to write one if that would be helpful.
Okay. Send it to me and I'll forward that to her.
Okay. Great, thank you. And then the second topic is construction noise on Locust Street. I came a few months ago to talk about that. We have a new project, again, rock breaking. And so the rock breaking equipment starts at 7 a.m., but really the assembly of all that equipment pushes in earlier. So I have two asks. I think that the noise ordinance should be amended to start at 8 a.m. because 7 a.m. is very early. And secondly, heavy equipment use, rock breaking on Saturdays is a problem. And we just lost our entire summer this past year in Saturdays of rock breaking. And so these are large scale projects. They really kind of blur the lines between residential and commercial because if you drive down Locust Street, they have one property that's been, it's enormous. It looks like a cruise ship. So I think that in densely populated neighborhoods like the one on Locust Street, I mean, the entire neighborhood suffers. And so right now we have 3 large-scale construction projects going on, and we also have one sort of like small scale. And the police were actually there this morning because the street got all backed up, and it was bedlam. So I think we need a little bit of relief. It's a whole separate issue in terms of the scope of the project, which I would love for you to take up with your land use boards or your zoning boards, but it's just, there's no benefit to us, and we have to live through all of the inconvenience. And so it's everything from the noise for those of us who work at home or just want to enjoy time at home, and also the dust. I cannot keep my car clean. It literally looks like it has a matte finish on it. So I would love for you to consider the noise ordinance. That is a part that you do control.
We do, and I wish it was that easy because there's reasons why they have it at 7. There's a reason why you'll see certain like haulers being downtown at 5 o'clock when people are sleeping on the avenue and they're banging containers. Well, they have to get down there because of to beat the traffic. So there's reasons why things have been put set there for years and years and years. But we always listen and see if there's anything else we can do to help.
Yeah,
people.
I mean, I think that used to be, beat the traffic used to be a thing, and now there's always traffic. I mean, like the number of like 18-wheeler accidents on that stretch of 95, and even like hearing about this construction project for the school, there's no like saving anything by an hour. Like the world has become incredibly trafficked. So I just.
Yeah, I just don't know what else went into that. I didn't predate.
Maybe there's carve-outs too, like this. Be more specific on what's generating the noise.
And also too, like I said, these densely populated, neighborhoods where your lot is measured in feet and not acres. It's entirely different when you move out of the central part of Greenwich.
Yeah, no, that's growing up that neighborhood. There were multifamily houses, single family houses, but they were stayed in generations. And then the last 20 years, people realized how valuable those properties were, and then developers came along and they're totally different from what I remember on those streets. I'm shocked when I go down there.
I am too, but aren't you the gatekeeper for zoning and planning in Greenwich?
Nope.
I come from New York.
Yeah.
I guess it's entirely different.
Yeah,
we had
it's
architectural review boards, we had zoning and planning, and
so we under the Office of First Selectman, only 30% of the employees really are under the jurisdiction of that. The rest report to independent boards and commissions. The biggest being the Board of Education, totally separate. Zoning, totally, they do that for a reason, because of politics. Health is another one. Human services is another one. It doesn't mean that we don't have any say. We advocate all the time. We work well with them. So we can be your voice in that. But as far as a final say, no, they're independent. But certainly you can bring us anything, and we work well with them. So
Well, I would invite you to drive down Locust.
I did. I was there the other day.
Okay. Thank you.
Just as a point of information, I might be conflating this project with another. I don't think it came under planning and zoning, actually. I think it was under the building department.
I don't know which one it was.
So there's assuming
But
they knock
it
down the
doesn't matter
houses and
for-
then they rock blast for months sometimes.
Right. For the sake of this discussion, I don't think it matters, but just wanted to be clear.
Yeah, Susan sent me that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Susan.
I believe Margarita wishes to speak.
Okay.
Margarita, we're 10 minutes behind schedule for our next meeting, just FYI.
That's okay. Well, this is the last one. Hi, Margarita.
No problem. She's gone. I just wanted to just make clear that we have no authority, planning and zoning has no authority over the noise. So it's up to you guys. The noise ordinance is totally yours. So if we approve a project, all we can do is follow the noise ordinance requirements, and all we do is in the decision, we say it has to meet the standards. That's it. I'll go away.
Yeah, no, she knew that too. The other stuff, when she asked why we're not have the say in other stuff, we don't. Just the noise.
Yeah.
But thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
Margarita.
bye.
Thank you.
I have 5 nominations.
5 nominations, and then we'll get to the other.
So are you okay if I read all 5 and not vote individually? Okay, so here are the 5. I move that we nominate Russell Naiman as a new member. Position R7 to the Fair Rent Commission, term expiring July 1st, 2025. I move that we nominate Jacob Schorndorf as a returning member, R1, to Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency for a term ending October 31st, 2028. I move that we nominate Frank Barata as a returning member, position R4, to the Planning and Zoning Board of Appeals for a term expiring October 31st, 2028. I move that we nominate Arnold Wells to move up to position R5 on the Planning and Zoning Commission for a term expiring October 31st, 2027. And I move finally that we nominate Peter Lowe as a returning member, position R1 to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a term expiring October 31st, 2027.
Thanks so much, Lauren. Janet Stone McWigan, I second.
All those in favor, Fred Camillo's a yes.
Lauren Rabin, yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes.
Thank you. Seeing no other business, is there a motion to adjourn?
Lauren Rabin, so moved.
Janet Stone McWigan, I second.
All those in favor, Fred Camillo's a yes.
Lauren Rabin, yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Ken.